Alright, so to install this wideband, I'm going to run the harness up through that grommet right there. I think all I'll have to do is cut a little X in it and run it through there. And then on the other side of that is probably going to be some carpet that I'm going to have to cut through. So now I got to figure out how to take the console apart and get the wiring up there to the gator pod where it needs to be. I'm pretty sure that somewhere around here is where that grommet is going to want to come through. So I'm concentrating on trying to get this panel here off. And I think that you just pull this, okay, from the top down and out. Now it looks like we've got a couple of Phillips screws right there. Alright, so I think, I don't know. Let's take those two screws out and see. What happens. I figure, why do any research and try to, you know, learn beforehand? Why not just... Okay, well, it's pivoting off a... Maybe there's another screw down there, but we've got the access now. So, of course, I don't know where that grommet comes through, so... Tell you what, now I'm gonna go ahead and just kind of poke through that grommet and see if there's any kind of sign of it coming through up here, so I can go ahead and get that feeding in that direction. It looks like we can, if we can get it, if it's somewhere around this area, we can get it to come up in that direction. That's where the gator pod's going to end up being, is up there. So let's see what happens on that front. That'll come out the other direction, which I don't really want to happen. There we go. Alright, so here's that grommety looking thing. So I see some carpet. Question's gonna be, where is it? Alright, I've got the tip of the screwdriver poking through. Let me see if I can... Alright, so that right there is where the screwdriver came through. So that's where that grommet comes up, which looks like it's perfect. So yeah, let me work on getting the actual wiring run down there, and we'll proceed. Just gonna kind of cut an X here. So this is the wiring harness that comes with the AEM. It actually goes to the sensor. So what I'm going to try to do is run this end up from the bottom, because I don't think that big end is going to go, although it probably would, but I'm going to fish it up through there right now. And then, even though this grommet would be better to go in from inside here, I don't think I want to cut that carpet enough to, so I'm just going to try to, well, I don't know. I don't really know how to handle that. But one thing's for sure, I gotta... So now I'll just feed this thing up through there, and then this will just be on the wire, and then I should be able to just kind of get it in place from below. Okay. Everything looks to be in good condition. It didn't get hurt or anything initially going through. So let's just pull, unfortunately, all this through here. Because the sensor has a really long pigtail on it, so I'm not going to need much of this wire to be underneath there. Alright, I think that's about good. I basically want just enough slack down there to where if I want to disconnect this thing in the future, I'll be able to do it relatively easily. Whereas if I pull this all the way up and the connector is just on the other side of the trans tunnel, then it's not going to be very easy to reach up in there and grab it to disconnect it. So that's good for that, I think. So I guess I'm going to move on to taking this console apart and getting the actual gator pod itself installed. me see if I can remember how to do this. I think there's a screw back there, is that right? Doesn't seem like it's in on mine. This thing just lifts up, doesn't it? Nothing in there, except for a bunch of nasty stuff. Yeah, I never put the screw in back there. See, once you get it up this far, I don't know if you can see that, I'll show it to you later regardless, but there's a little screw hole back here. There's supposed to be a screw in. And then you gotta reach under here and disconnect the harness for these switches. So, screw hole, 2 harnesses. Dump all the crap that was in there out. So it looks like I can take these screws out of this and that'll come straight out. How do I do that? I think the radio has to come out. I have the aux cable modification done to this, so I can't use the normal tool, so I'm just going to bend it up. There we go. Honestly, I like that. Just take the console out, remove these 2 screws, and pull on this part to get this stupid ass radio out. These things don't work. This thing's just in here too hard. It's like all these do is come in here and disengage those tabs that hold it in place. There's nothing to actually pull the thing out. Okay, 2 more screws up here. Actually, a lot more. Alright, so we've got an electrical connection at the back here for the hazard lights. Alright, so I'm going to route this behind here, I think. Just going to start there. And then if I can get it to go with one hand, and then up through here, okay. Now what do we have here? Can I go behind this HVAC thing here? Not really. So now, there's like some fabric wrapped wires back there. I'm gonna see if this thing will cooperate. If I can get this thing curled just the right way, give me some more slack. Maybe I can get it to go up behind the HVAC. And there it is, coming up from behind the HVAC. So I don't know how much slack we're going to need, but I can always push it back through. So that's that part, ran up to here. And then this is the other wiring harness with a CAN bus connection This goes to the other one that goes to the back of the gauge. And then we need a switched 12 volt and a ground. So I'm going to run this the same way that I did that, so that these two are following the same path. And then just like with the wideband, I'm going to take this wiring harness for the Mavman oil pressure gauge and feed it up through the same spot to get it up here. So here's the gator pod. There's the AEM gauge, gauge. Here is the Mavman Speedhut oil pressure gauge that I'll also be putting in here. Seems weird, but it doesn't even fit in here. I know it's a different company, but I think if I trim the top edge of this just a little bit, I think I can get this one to fit in. But the unfortunate part here is this AEM gauge is absolutely not going to fit. There's no way. It's too tight along the bottom of here, and the bezel of this is too thick. However, I basically found a different mounting bracket from another gauge that I had lying around and ground it on the bottom corners there so it would fit this shape. Then I had to grind that part away so that I could get the harnesses to plug in, and I think the harnesses will plug in. And that doesn't really look very good, but hey, when it's up here in place, you can't really tell. And I'm just not willing to modify either this or that to make it work, and so I'm fine with it. Now I am willing to modify, I don't think it's going to take much, just basically trim the top edge of this to give these, because that's really the part that doesn't seem to want to fit with this one. And then I think it'll go down in there, and I hope. I don't know. That's really crappy because this is the GTO G8TA one. And then this is from Mavman, so, you know, might not be compatible, but we'll see if I can make it work. But that'll be for a different time. So, yeah. So now I know those will fit into there. Now I need to figure out how to tap into a 12 volt switched power source and a ground. And then obviously the thing should just plug into the ALDL port, and that'll be that. Okay, so back here, this connection is the connector for the cigarette lighter smoker's package deal. And I think I can get some kind of power and ground and whatnot off of that, so. Alright, so from what I can tell, that top left terminal is 12 volt switched. The top right one is ground. I don't know what the bottom one is, but I think I can at least get 12 volt switched and ground off of that, and then I'll be on my own for the lighting. Should be pretty good, I think. Okay. Plug the ground into the one on the right, and 12-volt switched. Onto the one on the left. Alright, I think I changed my mind about routing these that way. I think maybe they should just go up right through here. Basically, if we run these wires up that way, right here they need to come up and then go around this, the HVAC plenum when it attaches to there, and so I think they'd be better off just coming up right here. So that's a little change of plans there. So we'll just leave those there for now. Okay, so after doing a little bit more research last night, supposedly the third terminal in that thing is our lighting. So you can get everything for this project from that connector right there, which is for the factory cigarette lighter. So I'm gonna go ahead and try it. Let's see here. I'll put this protective thing on here first, and then load up this terminal in my crimper. Alright, so it's not hooked up to the can high-low yet, but let's see if that is indeed the lighting circuit. I'm going to turn on the headlights. There you go. Perfect. So yeah, you can get 12-volt switched, ground, and the lighting all from that thing down there. So that's pretty cool.